And we're live.
Oh, I have to tweet out.
Oh, yes.
I always forget to do this before we get
Yeah. Hi, kitty.
on.
There we go. That's way better. The brightness on my computer was off, basically. I was like, why is it so dark? All right, guys. While Hannah is tweeting out that we are live, we are doing our live show for One Last Stop by Casey McQuestion. So we're very excited. This was one of our most anticipated books for this year. And we both actually listened to the audiobook.
Yes.
Oh, I didn't even mark on Goodreads that I finished it yet.
I'm still like in progress.
Yeah. I've been really bad about Goodreads this year.
Okay. So, what did you rate it?
I ended up giving it a 4 out of 5 stars.
I think that's what I'm gonna do too. This is very shaky. I apologize.
No, you're good. Let's see, there we go.
I'll try not to touch the table.
No, you're good. Yeah, I am going to give it a 4 out of 5 stars.
I think I'm probably in the same boat.
Mm-hmm.
So, as you guys know, we love Red, White, and Royal Blue, and we were highly anticipating this one because it is Casey McQuestion's second book. Um, I'm just gonna double check. I believe Casey McQuestion's pronouns are they. Any pronouns, okay. Because they have the gay flag and they have the transgender flag. I always get non-binary and transgender flags mixed up, but they have two flags, but they do say any pronouns in
Okay.
their bio. So I just wanted to double check.
Awesome.
But we absolutely loved Red, White, and Royal Blue. We've both done rereads of that before. And so we had high hopes for this one, especially with this being like sapphic romance. I was very excited. So, and it went through some turns, for me at least.
Yeah.
I definitely went into this concerned because I knew it had to do with time travel. And y'all know how I feel about time travel and that being like a pet peeve. So I was concerned, and I will say for a time travel-y book, it was done pretty well.
Yeah. Because it
But
was more like stuck in time
yeah,
versus actual time traveling. So it wasn't like she went and she was like seeing herself back in time. There weren't two versions of her.
yeah. Although they did allude to that when they were referring back to, like, oh, I bet you're 70 now. And, like, I was like, I haven't. That was my only, like, gripe with the time travel
Yeah.
parts was when they started, like, reminiscing on that stuff. And I was like,
Yeah. And also, they kind of explained the whole like time continuum and like a gap in the time, like linear time, and you know how anyways, I mean it's very complicated, but they like explained it super quick and like just skimmed the surface, and I was just kind of like
yep,
I mean it's an interesting premise, and I mean that stuff is so complex with um like different worlds and what you know like different time and all of that stuff, and like so we're on like
Different
a linear.
dimensions and
Yes, yeah. And so they kind of just like, it was very brief. It was like 2 seconds. Oh well, she must be stuck on this and this, and it's because of the energy, and she got stuck in a gap, and her A and B doesn't equal our C and D, whatever.
can
You
we
know how.
touch on that for a second?
I have no idea how that stuff works though.
So, if what? How old are they again? Like in their 20,
20,
like 22.
23, 24. 23,
Okay,
24.
so they're not that much younger than we are, but still, even in my present day like age, I would have never jumped to the like thought process of being like, oh, she's attached to the electricity. That must be it. Like, how did you leap from there?
Yeah, especially since she's an artist, right?
Which one?
Like my Mila, is that her
Yeah.
name? Mila.
Well, she also had like a chemical engineering.
Oh, that's okay, 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 okay.
Chemical engineering. She had like
Some
an
sort of science background. Okay,
yeah,
that makes sense because I'm like, how did an artist? Not that artists can't have that kind of background. I'm not saying that, but
yeah.
typically, it's like she seems very like when they
She's
were
not
trying to.
Joe Schmo that would understand that. Like she had
Yeah,
prior knowledge and
she's like, oh, I can create a blackout and I'll just redo a surge. And I'm just like, what?
because that's how she knew. That's how she was able to talk and figure out someone who worked in that like underground thing is because it was her old people who she went to college with.
Yeah,
So that's how like all that connection. So that she has a degree behind it, and she decided she didn't like it.
that makes sense. I must have missed that. There was a lot of little pieces here. I don't feel like there was too much to the story. I do like I like all the characters. I like the development. I like the pacing. Um, I know one of our biggest gripe in our last book was that there was too much going on in a book, and I don't feel like that was the case in this one. I feel like um, there was just enough appropriate mi- minor details for each character. So, like you said, her background, Wes was like a baker at one point or like a cake decorator, and then he ended up becoming a tattoo artist. I liked all those little minute, important things. I really like that. Although I will say, I did feel like the whole closing down of the pancake shop was a little like we could have done without it. I felt like it was a very um, unnecessary plot line. Um,
Yeah, I can see
but I mean, like still could have gotten A to B without that, in my
so.
opinion.
So I think like this is gonna be hard, and because we're so biased because we like red, white, and royal blue so much.
I know, and I was reading some. I sorry, I totally didn't mean to cut you off, but I
You're
was
good.
reading some reviews, and everyone's like, "You can't go into this wanting red, white, royal blue. It's not the same. It's completely different. This is more like sci-fi, magical realism. Like it's not the same whatsoever." And I was like, "Ugh, I know. It's so hard because like that book is so good, and it's just like Carrie Maniscalco's like Stalking Jack the Ripper. It's like once you have something so amazing, it's really hard to like deviate from that.
So with that being said, like I definitely we're still rating. We both are rating this book 4 stars. We both enjoyed it. However, this is something like book club. We're gonna pick it apart.
Yeah.
So prefacing that, just like we did with Crescent City with Sarah J. Maas, we picked that thing apart because we love her previous work. Same with Carrie Maniscalco, we had some we picked that apart too, and we still liked that book. So
Hmm.
with that being said, I will say comparing it to Red, White, and Royal Blue, Red, White, and Blue, yeah, that one is definitely superior. The biggest takeaway for me is one, I like the political aspects with Red, White, and Royal Blue, which this one obviously wouldn't have. I don't like the time travel element that's in this, but I already knew that I was not going to like that going into it, so that's not its fault, it's mine. But like the big thing that I was really like hoping for that we didn't get was how, like in Red, White, and Royal Blue, Casey McQuestion created such great side characters. And I liked the side characters in this one, but I didn't feel as if I could have, like, in Red, White, and Royal Blue, I read that book and I wanted, like, like books written after the side characters because I
Like his
cared about them.
sister,
Yes.
what's her name? Nora? Is that her
Yeah.
name? Loved her.
So, like, I would have loved side characters and to dive more into that world. I don't really care that much about this. Like, they were good. They were fleshed out enough that they
Mhm.
weren't flat characters, but I wasn't invested in them. I wasn't. They
Mhm.
didn't feel as integral into the main story as Red, White, and Royal Blue. So that's my
Mhm.
only like bummed out is because I love side characters
I do
being
too.
at like full cast of characters and not just like this story is about two people and then all of their NPCs and stuff. It's just so
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, I was having trouble kind of clicking with the characters. Um, I so not that the characters I don't have any faults. Like I don't have anything really negative to say about August and Jane. I felt like they had flaws which they needed as characters, and then they had their advantages and just disadvantages as characters in general. I really liked that, um, but I just wasn't like I don't. This won't be a reread for me, unfortunately. Um, so I liked it, but and I will recommend it, but
yeah,
this won't be a book where I'm like, oh, I really want to pick this book up. I won't have a
a second
hankering,
time. Yeah,
yeah, to reread.
I think I'm probably in the same boat as that. Um, is there anything that you felt was done better than Red, White, and Royal Blue? For me, I definitely thought like the sex scenes were way hotter in this book than they were in Red, White, and Royal Blue.
See, I feel like the love scenes stand out more in Red, White, and more Royal Blue to me.
See, I think they're more romantic, but I think the sex scenes are better
Interesting. Okay.
because I like you get all the feels with Red, White, and Royal Blue, and I didn't
Yeah.
necessarily get like all the feels that I wanted
I
to,
didn't. It wasn't
but
cutesy.
yeah,
I didn't get like well, there were a few moments where it was like, "Can I kiss you?" and they're kind of like recreating that moment of Jane's past. I thought it was kind of cute, but then she would ruin it, and she's like, "It's for research. It's for research." I thought it was funny. I quite enjoyed that scene. But yes, you're right. There weren't like cutesy moments like Red, White, and Royal Blue. Um, so, um, what else? What was done well?
and I think like because like they weren't cutesy because that's not the type of characters we had in this book.
Mhm.
Like August was so reserved
Mhm.
and held herself back, which like made it harder as the reader to like get those swoony feels because our main character wasn't getting those swoony feels.
Correct. That's
Because she was
true.
like fighting it. And
That
then
is true.
we never got to see Jane's perspective, so we don't know how she was feeling.
Mhm. That's true.
So this was more of a mystery to me than necessarily a romance. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, yeah. And I think that's what a lot of people are saying. It's like a sci-fi magical realism versus like romance, but I think it's deemed romance because Casey McQuestion, her first book was very romance. Oh, another thing that I felt was like, was that like the characters didn't have anything going for them apart from like when they were together. Does that make sense? Like, at least in Red, White, and Royal Blue, the main characters like they each had their own things that were very important, like we saw a lot of scenes of Alex and like his political career and like working with his sister and his mom and doing stuff like that. Um, and with August, I feel like maybe it's just because she was a little more lost, like you said. But like we never saw her in school. I would have loved to seen her like go to some classes, doing some homework. She just like randomly is like, you know, when she's kind of in a rut, she's like doesn't go to school. She doesn't go to work,
Go
and then
hang
all of
out.
us, yeah, and then all of a sudden she's like talking with her counselor, and they're like, oh yeah, you can graduate next semester, and I'm like, wait a second,
I
what?
didn't realize you were in school.
I would have loved to have seen her done more. Like she talked about how bad of a waitress she was to Jane. It would have been fun to like had seen her at work, um, things like that. So I, I feel like we just didn't get enough of their like personality or like their life. Um, Jane, obviously, I understand why we didn't get that because that was the whole thing. The whole point was a mystery and we're trying to figure it out along. But it would have been nice to get a little bit more of August's life. Um,
We definitely got like the roommate element, but I think it would have been really good to see like watching her develop those feelings for Jane and like say getting hit on at her college and then realizing she's still thinking about the girl on the train. Like
yeah,
that would have like solidified the romance a bit more and wouldn't feel as like insta lovey. And that was my biggest
yeah,
gripe with this book was I felt this is gonna sound weird, but I felt bad for Jane because it felt like August was only into her because of the mystery and that how she grew up. And she even kind of made a comment at the beginning of being like, she's the perfect mystery, like she's a perfect girl because she's a mystery to me. And I'm like,
hmm.
are you into her because she's her, or are you into her because she's a mystery and you can't figure her out?
It's
Like,
like hard to get. It's like once it's no longer
yes,
hard to get, it's not interesting anymore.
yeah. And so I was like, I don't love that. Like, I didn't,
Yeah,
and it made it harder to ship because I was like, do you have ill intentions? Which is so weird because like you're in August's point of view. So you know
right.
that it's not like she's trying to use her, but like she was so interested in the mystery part. I don't know. I there was a lot going on.
Yeah. Hey, okay. Side note, keep talking about that. I just need to go check on the baby really quick.
You're fine. I at least thought that the sex scenes were very hot in this one. I'm talking to myself now. You guys can see the kitten. This is my new co-host. This is Watson. If you are unfamiliar, he has a bow tie because he is a gentleman. But overall, I thought that the book was pretty good. I guess I can tell you guys that our next pick for the month of July
Okay, I'm so sorry.
is is gonna be the Poison Heart. Um, this train went real off the tracks real quick.
Oh no, you're
As
good.
soon as you
You're good. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Okay.
all of you people now know my cat because that's what I immediately went to. As
Oh,
Mrs.
what?
Watson.
Oh, that's so funny. That's so funny. No, I was letting Kevin know that if she needed some more, she's got milk. Anyways, okay, I had another thought. So I liked the premise of it being, have you ever read those books where it's like entirely in messages or text messages or emails? I really like that. I think it's so unique. Like with Sadie, it was like in podcasts. I think I just clicked out a little bit.
Yeah, you're good
Um,
now.
uh, I I feel like it would have been so cool if the entire book had been set on the train. Like I know it would have been really hard, but that's where you have to like work around developing it. But how cool would it have been if it's like day one and she's on the train, and it's like day two, and it's like every like scene is on the train, and like adding
So
like
a
tech.
book from Jane's perspective.
Yes, essentially, yes, yes,
I think it would be hard to flesh out
yeah.
the character though, because like, do you? I mean, we
Well,
got
I mean,
like snippets of like getting to know her through her things in her backpack, which I thought was a cool element to it.
right.
But it was hard to like have her be a real person.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's kind of like when you read those books and like it's all in text messages, like and like emails and stuff. You still, it's like the Boy Next Door series. I mean, you still get a sense of the characters and everything. Gosh, what's going on with my mic? Um, but it's very cool. I really like that premise. So it was just a thought that I had. Like I would have liked to have seen like either go one or two ways. I felt like we didn't have enough on the train and we didn't have enough off the train.
I did like this scene, like when they jumped off and she grabbed the third, or she landed on the third rail, and then they went and they were able to like walk and get off the train together because she was still.
Mm-hmm.
I really liked that part of it because it felt like it was getting more fleshed out. Um, yeah, I guess if you're thinking about it, this is a very challenging premise to have one of your characters stuck in one
Mm-hmm.
thing.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. And I felt like Jane was well developed for that.
Oh yeah, yeah. With the restrictions that they had in place, I definitely think that
Mm-hmm.
they were able to flesh out a little bit. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I will say I thought it was a little convenient that August's missing uncle was Jane's roommate, and that just like tied everything up. And I was like, this is too much. Like,
So I take it back. Maybe that premise was kind of dumb.
well, and like that part, I think all makes sense of like, you know, her mom is the way she is, and that's why she has this relationship with her mom, and that's why she is the way she is, so that's why Jane is so interesting to her. But I think we could have left it at that. We didn't need to tie Jane into the knowing and having that tied up. Like,
Yeah. We could have just left it as he's missing and we
yeah,
just don't know.
like we didn't need that closure for that character that we never met.
Yeah.
And the
Uh,
only like benefit I think
Yeah.
we got out of that was like understanding more of like how queers were unaccepted back then.
Yes.
That's how that was like tied in with her family.
Yeah.
But I didn't think it was necessarily necessary. Also, the grandmother thing really like
Mm-hmm.
could have been taken out and it would have changed like very little. Besides the fact that the pancake place got to stay
Keep.
in business. Yeah.
Yeah. But once again, I still feel like that whole premise could have just been like, see, it's interesting. Like you find these little plots that you're just kind of like, you could have spent more time developing characters. Like I would have, like I said, I would have loved to have seen August going to school and just kind of her day to day. Not too much because that can get boring, but just a little bit. Also, I would have loved to seen her interact more with her roommates, like that first um, interaction at
She
the very
first moves in.
beginning. Yeah, I thought that was fantastic. I love that. And like she goes and gets coffee and then she like falls and then she like spills coffee all over herself. Like I would have loved to have seen more of that. It sounds like she might be a little bit clumsy and it would have been awesome to have seen more of that. Um more and then more like humor in that and yeah, so I don't know. Now the more I think about it, the more I'm like, maybe it's a 3.
I still think it's good, but I just
Yeah.
think that it's there was a lot of like the original premise was interesting enough that we didn't need those other side stories to like keep us
Yeah.
invested because we were already invested in the first place. I think the reason why what was the pancake place called?
Billy's.
Billy's. Uh, I think the reason why Billy's was introduced is because Jane used to work at Billy's, and so that was a tie in with Jane, and that's how
No,
she like connected like when she found the photo and stuff. Like I think all of that makes sense.
no, I think that's fantastic. It's just the whole like, why are they going out of business thing that seems kind
Yeah,
of silly. Like, oh, we need to raise money to save it now. And it's like, oh, it's very convenient that it's going to be on the railroads when they're trying to perform their heist, which their heist is like
yeah,
5 minutes of the book.
yeah. I think heist is the wrong word. They definitely use that in
Hmm.
there, but it's I think the heist was the wrong word.
Definitely.
I did get a little bit of the swoony feelings at the very end, which is like with the kiss at the end, like that's what
Yeah.
set it over, and I was like, okay, you got me. Like,
Yeah. Or the when she found her parents and her sister, and she was like, we can do whatever you want, I'll be
go anywhere with me.
there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought that was really sweet. I liked that a lot as well.
I also really like the quip of she's like which way do we go? Like, because she like the first thing was like I want to take you home or whatever, and she's like, I'm guessing you don't want to take the subway. And she's like, fuck you. I was like, okay, that's great.
I loved that. I loved that. See, I feel like this book could have been so much more humorous. There are so many like it's Mila, right? I keep wanting to say Maya, but it's Mila.
Yeah,
Mila. She is so funny. She just had these like perfect inappropriate quips that she just kept saying. And I just thought it was fantastic. I loved her. Like,
especially like when she would deliver those, I was like, ooh, that's what I was looking for. Like,
yes.
that's a Casey question that I'm used to type of thing.
Yes, so good. And like I feel like she could have been our main character. She was just so sassy and she just had all of this like great like I don't know, I loved it. I loved her quirks and everything like when she went to go seduce her ex-boyfriend. I still think
The
about you.
save face.
Where have you been the last 2 years of my life? So I love that. She's hilarious.
I definitely think also that they could have really used like lingo, like new lingo versus old lingo, and like teaching her things. Like we got to see a little bit of that of the Wi-Fi versus Wi-Fi and things like that. Like that could have really been a really good like montagey, humorous type of scene in there that would like lighten up the book a little bit.
Yes, that would have added such great like depth to it because I did make a comment that I liked how we were getting a lot of like references to the 1970s and I thought that was great like all the bands and I liked how they would talk to each other through like the radio songs Jane would that kind of actually got me. I thought that
Yeah,
was kind of sweet, especially the last one where like she thought she was gone and I was like, "Oh,
the
that's
just
sweet."
in case.
Yeah. I thought that was really sweet. I liked that a lot. But yes, that would have been hilarious to talk about that, like kind of giving her a lecture, or not a lecture, but like a little schooling on today's. Um, was this at 2020?
Yeah,
Okay.
because it was like December of
Mm,
2020, I think,
okay.
when they put the song in. Um, do you think that Casey McQuestion wrote this intended for the romance section, or do you think she was aiming more towards like sci-fi section? Because like maybe that's why she didn't write it like swoony like red, white, and royal blue because she didn't want it to be in the romance section. I don't know.
Is it in the romance section?
Yeah, and
I
like I
don't
can see it a
know.
little bit, but I also think that it's got just as much romance in it as any like fantasy book's got in it.
Yeah, because like well, maybe because the whole plot is set around a relationship
I guess.
versus a relationship within a plot.
Yeah, I guess that makes sense.
So I would say I feel like the intention is romance with a little bit of magic.
Maybe I'm just too used to like contemporary romances being more like,
Bam.
yeah, like all the feels type of
Yeah.
content. Or more like
Granted,
lighthearted, like flirty. Like we got a little
mhm,
bit, but we didn't get like a ton. Especially like
yeah.
August. August did not like that was I think also killed a bit of the like vibes for me. Is that like Jane 10 out of 10 good flirt.
Yeah. Am I
August
on a date?
bad yeah
Is this a
August
date?
bad bad reciprocator like bad receiver. All of it was she did not like. Was this your first girlfriend? Like what's happening here? Like
Yeah.
we need to talk.
Yeah, remember she said she was still I think she said that like she's basically a virgin and everything.
Oh, you're right. Yeah.
So she hadn't dated or anything like that. Remember she's like bounced around a lot. She's been to like multiple different colleges
So I guess
too.
that kind of explains her behavior.
Yeah.
And it didn't make for a great romance. And
No.
also, those type of people need like people who are brand new at relationships or find relationships hard. Also need books like that. So
Yeah.
that's valid. It just is
Hmm.
not the book for me for that.
Yeah. Oh, and like I would have loved to have seen Isaiah more or Annie. That's
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
her
No, wait.
drag. Yeah. So Isaiah is the drag queen.
Anti
She's
antidepressants. Yeah,
yes.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yes. I would have loved to have seen her more. Um
Yeah.
and Wes, I think Wes could have been a phenomenal character if we had gotten more of him as well. He seemed
Totally.
very um
Like fleshed out even though we
y-
like he felt like he had a history
right?
that we didn't get to see.
Right? I would have loved to have seen him more. Nico was a little bit like at first I really liked him. I thought he was very like his clairvoyance and the seance that they were doing. I really liked his personality. But then it kind of just dwindle down a little bit, but I would have loved to have seen that more. Like I would have loved to have seen more of like Isaiah and Wes. And I mean, I know that it's not their book, it's not their perspective, but it would have been I don't know, it would have been fun.
No, yeah, I agree. And that would have fleshed them out more too,
Mhm.
as being full characters that we could have wanted a full book on if we would have gotten
Mhm.
more from them too. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Um I don't know, did I write anything else in my notes?
I think overall, like it's definitely one to recommend.
Yeah.
There isn't a lot of like lesbian romances or sapphic romances in
Mhm.
anything, so I mean it's definitely one to recommend if you're looking for that. Um, I will say like I as someone who if you read One Last Stop and didn't get the swoony feels that you wanted or didn't feel as romancy, I would recommend Written in the Stars.
Mm.
Um, takes place in Seattle. It's really cute, sapphic romance. Um, it definitely is like Hate to Love. It's also based after Pride and Prejudice, so there is Darcy and Elle.
Oh.
It's pretty cute. It's around astrology, and it's like Hate to Love because one is very analytical and one is all like astrology and feelings and stuff, and it's very cute, and you will definitely get the swoony feelings. I would probably recommend this one over One Last Stop. And that's coming from someone who does not like astrology, and a lot of this book has astrology in it.
That's so funny. Um I you mentioned hate to love. Maybe that's what this book was missing. But there was no you couldn't put a hate to love in this. Like
No,
it makes no sense for the characters to hate each other and then have a relationship. Makes absolutely no sense. But that would have been I think maybe that's why Red, White, and Royal Blue is so good for like the first
because
third
it's
or
got that
fourth.
fire.
Yeah, for the first fourth of the book, they hate each other and then they have to pretend to be friends. You
Yeah.
know, he like falls over a cake. Um, and
Also,
then
also in this book, there's fake dating trope in here too.
I like that.
Yeah.
So I mentioned Oh yeah, when they were jumping train cars, I don't know if it's the mom in me, but I was like, that is so dumb. I was like,
Well, it's
oh,
dumb for August, not so much for Jane because she couldn't leave the thing anyway.
I was like, what are they doing? So dumb. Made me so mad. I don't know why. And then there was another, they mentioned that during one of the like uh scenes where I think she was like, "Can I kiss you?" It was like she forgot to breathe, and I was like, "No, why?"
At least she didn't say the sentence though.
No, she said she forgot to breathe.
Yeah, but at least she didn't say, "I
Oh,
let
hold
out
my.
a breath I didn't know I was holding."
Once again, it's like you can't forget to breathe. It's like auto.
Yeah, I don't know. There's like times where you're like your breath has been
That's
taken
true.
away,
That's true. That is true.
and then you didn't realize that like you were still in that holding period. I
That is
suppose.
that is true. Or like when you're scared and like your stomach kind of plummets a little bit when you get that scared feeling,
Yeah.
you kind of like tense up and you hold your breath. Okay, you're right. That's
So
true.
it can as long as they don't say that phrase that's said
Yeah.
at least like as long as it's like if they say it ironically then it's
Y-
funny.
Yeah.
But if they're saying it in earnest then I'm like no. Haven't we learned past that?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I think we got everything that I said. Oh, I liked the little mixed media posts that we were getting at the very beginning of each chapter. And then I really liked how that tied back to like
At the very
August and Jane, yeah, and she wants to start that column.
yes.
I thought that was great. Um, I really like that. But and then I said I loved the roommates relationship at the very beginning, and I wish we would have gotten a lot more of that. That would have been like if they had gotten because I don't think they ever actually went back to the pancake house. That would have been awesome if like the three of them or like the four like the roommates went to the pancake house and we had seen more interaction there.
Yeah. Well, I mean they do go in there sometimes.
Do they? I guess I don't
Yeah, so
remember.
like when they first got August's job, they all went together. And
Hmm.
then when she was like calling out saying she had mono, she like went in there after she had called out.
Oh yeah.
And I was like, that's weird. Like that's not a normal thing that people would do. And also, like, wouldn't your coworkers be pissed at you? Like that part just stuck out as weird to me because I was like, that doesn't make any sense why they would do that or
Yeah,
choose
it's
to
not
go
very
there.
yeah, yeah.
And then
Yeah.
they also went back like when the $15,000 was anonymously donated.
Oh, yeah, you're
They
right.
went
You're
back
right.
to like celebrate, and that's where Jane met. So we saw a little bit, and the roommates were there too,
Yeah. That's true.
but not just like day to day type of thing. Especially for people who say they go there all the time.
Yeah.
They never like popped up while she was working.
Hmm. Would you have preferred the premise like take out the magic and it just be like these two girls that like happen to meet on the train every day on their commute to work and they form a relationship? Do you think you would have preferred that over having to like save her from being stuck in a loop?
I think, well, obviously that one is a lot more relatable. Um, I don't know because then it's like what makes that story special.
Yeah, that's true.
But at least they would have been. You know what would have been really cute is if they were communicating over the like misconnections post. So
Um,
like if they were both too shy to actually talk to each other because they both hadn't been in a female relationship, so then they just like posted missing connections back and forth to each other and knew that it was. Did they do that? They didn't do that. Did they do that?
yeah. Yeah, I remember he posts a comment and he was like, "You were at the post office with me and I was returning a box and here's my number."
Yeah,
I
I
mean, it was just along the lines. It wasn't
yeah,
communication, but it was along the lines of that. It reminded me of this.
or like I more so was thinking like where one would post one and then another would post one back and they would be messaging on the board, never actually getting to connect,
That
or
would have
like
been so cute. So very much like Simon versus the Homo sapiens agenda. Very much like mixed media talking, like how they
yeah,
conversed via emails only.
or like and like because of that, like they could have had like one girl getting off the train as the other one's getting on and like missing each other that way and seeing each other.
That would have been so
Right.
cute. That would have been, see, like I'm like swooning at that idea.
Yeah.
That would have been really cute.
And so
I
like that I think would maybe make it special.
mhm.
Uh, I don't know if that would make it special. I don't know. That would probably work. It would be
Yeah,
special enough to do a romance around
I
it.
think maybe it's just because we're not huge fans of like the time travel. I think just
Yeah.
that in
Just like problems
general.
with it.
Yeah, I think that in general, like the whole like time continuum loop and all of that stuff, I feel like maybe it's just like I think about it too much to where it like doesn't make sense.
Oh yeah, or like yeah, we pick apart it way too easily
Yeah.
because we're like, I just don't understand how anybody can write time travel. I'm gonna go off on a tangent here that I'm sure all of you have heard before, but I just like don't understand how anybody can like not understand that if you change one little thing in the past, that's going to change the entire outcome of the person is also a fact. You know what I mean? Like if we sent Jane back in time, that would change literally everything about August's life, and like that was never a concern for them. Yet
Mm,
they had the forethought to think like, oh, I'm gonna make a blackout and send her back, and she's connected through the electricity. Like they thought all of that through, but did not think anything through of like, if we send her back, how is that going to change your life? You may have never come to New York. And then also we get into that part like if you're sending like it gets too tunneled down because like if you send Jane back and she had never in August like still had the uncle, so she
yeah.
like all of that. She never would have come to New York, which means that she was never in New York to be able to send Jane back, and it all ripples again. Like, no, it doesn't. It doesn't ever work.
Yeah, no, I agree. I definitely agree. It's very confusing.
It's very convoluted.
It is. It is. It
Yeah,
is. So to have a 5 minute, oh, she's stuck in the electricity, and oh, I can fix it. Here, let me
easy.
create a surge.
I can fix dimensional travel.
Yes. And it's like, oh, it was only 3 seconds for me. How long was it for you? 3 months.
Yeah,
Just like, but apart from that plot, um, I think we both agree that it's a good book. It is recommendable,
oh yeah.
um, but it is not. So, like, if you didn't like Red, White, and Royal Blue because you felt like it was too heavy on romance, and you feel like there wasn't a plot, like a lot of people felt like there's like people like you either loved it or you didn't like it. And if you felt like there just wasn't like a main storyline, like Red, White, and Royal Blue kind of like there's not one main plot. I mean, there is, but it's like you've got Alex doing his thing, and then the other character doing his thing, and then they meet, and then they try to have a relationship, but they're still doing other things. You might like this one because there is an actual like magical theme integrated in it, and there is like a one main thing that everyone is trying to achieve, which is get her out of the loop.
Yeah.
And it's not super heavy on romance. Like there are some scenes, but I feel like there's way less sex scenes. They might be a little more graphic in this book, but there's way less. I only counted like two, really. Like the one after their date where she brings her food and like the train gets black, and then the main one, like when she returns and they go back to her apartment,
Yeah.
those
That's
are
pretty
the
tame for an adult romance. Yeah.
yeah, those are the only two scenes. And then there's like one or two kissing scenes in between there. So there's four romance scenes, whereas Red, White, and Royal Blue, you've got like eight, six or
Is there
seven.
that many?
There's a lot. There's a
Wow.
lot. There's like their first time. There's a lot. I need to go back and check, but they get together a lot.
Yeah, I would definitely say that, like, yeah, if you didn't like Red, White, and Royal Blue because of those reasons, One Last Stop would be a good recommendation for that then.
Mhm. It doesn't I can't necessarily find, but I can count at least five. Five scenes. Um six actually. I can count six like love scenes in Red, White, and Royal Blue versus the two actual sex scenes in this one.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, it definitely wasn't as heavy romance for this one,
mhm.
and that definitely comes out with a lot of the writing. I will say, like, I think this was all like besides the characters like not getting enough of the character like side characters. I
Yeah.
think that the book was very well crafted
Yes, I will say that.
because it's like so much of it was interwoven and it wasn't super forced for the most part. I mean, I still have the issue with
Mhm.
the uncle being the roommate thing that felt a little forced, but
Yeah.
like for the most part, all of it was weaved in pretty well.
Yeah, I totally agree. Um I'm trying to see. This book was 432 pages. Oh, wow. And Red, White, and Royal Blue is 418. So this book was bigger than Red, White, and Royal Blue. And it seems like
This book had a way more complicated premise to it too.
it did. It did. It very much did. Yeah.
Um,
But it didn't flesh out the romance as much, or like we didn't get as much, like you said. It felt insta love, even though it was over months, because I think they met in the spring, like March. It was like the beginning of her semester. She was starting a new semester.
I thought it was like in the fall because she's wearing a scarf.
No, because September is when they might have met it but then it would have been a year because like the line was closing in
Yeah,
September to October. So they needed to figure out how to get her out before September. And
yeah,
they got her out in like I think it was like July or August. Um as when that whole like the blackout happened. So I think they met in January. I think it was the beginning of the spring semester where it was still cuz it's still cold.
yeah,
She was like it's 20 she at one point she said it was like 28 degrees. And there's still snow on the ground cuz she fell on the ice.
yeah.
Um like and that's why she spilled coffee on herself.
Oh
So
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I'm thinking it was January, like the beginning of a new semester at school.
It did feel very insular just because we didn't get that many like
Scenes together.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So, um but yeah. So for someone that was dating for almost 6 7 months, that's you would have it didn't feel like it.
Yeah,
I didn't get that sense that they were together that long,
yeah, with the
but
connection.
they were. Yeah.
Well, is there anything else that you want to address before we wrap up?
Not on this book.
So the next book is this Poison Heart. It's
Mhm.
this Poison Heart.
This Poison Heart
Uh,
by Kaylin. Is it Byron? Byron?
I
Byron? It's Bayron.
Yes.
I'm
Who
not sure.
also wrote the ever popular Cinderella is Dead, which I have not read, but I've
I
heard
haven't read that one.
fantastic
I
things
haven't read
about
about that
that.
one either.
Um, but I'm pretty excited about this one. I also think this one is also queer.
I think so too.
Like I know that like actually it wasn't even this year when I like came out as bi, but ever since then there's like a lot more queer books on there, and I think that's just the ones that are coming out. That the
Hmm.
books are coming out that like are the ones that we're excited about. So it just happened to stumble upon that.
Yes, one of the visitors is Marie, a mysterious young woman who Bree befriends, only to find out Marie is keeping dark secrets. Oh, maybe there isn't a love story. It just oh no, it says genre LGBT.
Okay,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. It does have the genre. It says fantasy. So I'm quoting Goodreads. So it's probably not going to have like it's not going to be correct. But it says fantasy, young adult, LGBT, retellings, queer, lesbian, contemporary, urban fantasy.
right on. So that is going to be our next month's pick over on my channel, and we will come out with our next the rest of our book club picks for the end of the year that we have been compiling. So
Mhm.
stay tuned for that.
Well, we can go ahead and say August and September.
Yeah, that's fine.
So August is going to be A Lesson in Vengeance by
By Victoria.
Victoria Lee.
Very excited about Dark Academia.
Yeah. And then September is a book that we have been anticipating since last year. It kept getting
Yeah,
pushed
at
back.
least. Yeah.
It's Empire of the Vampire by Jay Kristoff.
Which is gonna be a chunky book. I think it's slated at like 700-ish pages or something like that.
Yeah.
So
So
that
yeah,
that one I think we're gonna do 2 months for since it's so big.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, if anyone is, so yeah, so that way you can get July and August, you can get August and September books if you guys want to, um, but especially August since that's coming up. But A Lesson in Vengeance, I'm excited for that one. That one
Yes.
seems really cool.
Very excited.
Yeah, me too. Fall is always a really good release. So
That's when it pops off.
I know. All right, guys. Well, thank you so much for joining our live show. And just comment below if you have anything you want to say.
Or
And
suggestions for book club.
yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And our next live show is going to be the August 3rd, which is the first Tuesday of August.
Cool.
So I'm excited. All
Yeah. Thank you guys for watching, and we will see you guys next time.
right. Bye.
Bye.